Module 5, Unit 1, Security Concerns. In this unit, guys, we will discuss the threats in information systems when it comes to confidentiality, integrity, and availability ng data sa information system or information processing system. These are subject to threats. So we will cover all of those, no? And we will also identify the social engineering techniques. First of all, we will define what is social engineering. We need to understand this, and then the techniques to prevent this. This about security concern and social engineering. And then uh, we will describe the importance of business continuity. We need to understand, first of all, maybe some of you are aware what is a business continuity and how to make the systems fault tolerant. Fault tolerant. When we say fault tolerant, we will understand this. Oh, ano ba to? How significant it is this when it comes to business continuity most of all? And then we will explain the importance of disaster recovery. Meron palang disaster na tinatawag sa IT systems. And then there are recovery plans when a disaster happens. So, ito ang ating pag-usapan sa unit na to. Now, let's start with computer security basics. Even in a world of cybersecurity, all of security is a concern. It's everywhere. It's because of the Internet of Things. Laganap din ang ang threats when it comes to cybersecurity. But to start with, it all starts with the computer security basics. So basically, when we say computer security, it is it starts with controlling access to resources. It makes sense, di ba, na yung data, computer, lalo na sa server room, even the network connections, lalo na yung wireless networks, dapat may control dyan. Even it is open to public, may mga control access dyan. How to prevent compromise, no, para hindi lang sa user perspective but also sa mga company who provide free access, may mga controlling access dyan na not to expose their system for anomalies or exploitation. And then when it comes to security, there is a balance between security and accessibility. Of course, our mindset is we have to secure the system, the computer, as much as we can, no? As much as possible, and with the greatest and the latest and greatest, no, solution for security. But when it comes to accessibility, it's also a factor in implementing security. What do you mean by accessibility? No, when we say accessibility, no, yung masyadong secured, and then it is only for a simple purpose. And sometimes, when you need the data, maraming security level ang na-apply that it should be necessary. Or sometimes uh, yung multi-factor authentication is not really applied in the right way. It gives also complexity sa pag-access ng data. Those are ang mga ganun bang example when it comes to security and accessibility. And then yung basic foundation, no, the properties of security information is revolving on CIA triad. Ito yung kumbaga the trinity of CIA of security of cybersecurity. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So these are the factors when it comes to computer security basics. I mean, about the level of confidentiality, complexity, and then the integrity, and then availability that we will discuss as we move forward. And then, yung awareness when it comes to threats, it's also very important. Like, ano bang klaseng threat na nangyayari when it comes to virus, when it comes to malware, and the behavior and symptoms ng nangyayari sa computer, whether is it slow or somehow may mga mga suspicious behavior. And the threat is not only happening within the computer, may mga external threats din sa computer security, and most usually yun ang mga taken for granted. Like for example, as we will discuss later on, yung social engineering o kaya yung mga data na expose na na actually I mean madalas na overlook yung mga external threats. Now, since I know we talk about CIA triad, no, ito yung kumbaga ito yung trinity ng cybersecurity, and starting with confidentiality, ano ba mga concern dyan? When we say confidentiality, di ba alam naman natin to na yung mga data about confidential data, mga critical data ng company, not even us, our individual, yung mga bank information dito sa US, yung mga social security, and then mga credit card transactions on the side of the company, those are confidential, no? So, ang concern dyan when it comes to confidentiality is snooping, eavesdropping, and then social engineering. When we say snooping, ito yung ano din yung na naghahanap ba ng mga naakalat na data, naghahalungkat, no? Those are the things, no? And they try to identify asan yung mga password dito na nakatago. Not only on your desk but also on your computer files, even on your folders. May mga proper handling lang, like for example yung mga password, no? And then eavesdropping. When we say merong ano din ano, even sa 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 cyberspace may mga marites din diyan, may mga nakikinig. Yun yung mga hacker sabihin nila, no, na lalo na in wireless networks, especially in public areas. You don't know, especially nowadays, maraming marites na ngayon dyan, maraming, you don't know, you cannot assume na nobody's listening. So it's, be aware, be cautious when you are using the public internet. That is not the best time na to check your bank accounts online, no? That is not the best time na you log in a unknown or unreliable websites. Kasi nagagawa ang eavesdropping through wiretapping or sniffing. Gumamit ka lang ng software o kaya yung laptop mo in a promiscuous code and then a protocol analyzer. Yan ang mga ginagawa ng mga cyber marites, ano? May bagong word tayo. Just like sniffing. They are, ito yung mga nagda-drive in public area na, and then they scan the vicinity for, wala na sa wireless networks, kung may mga activity dyan, and then they will lock on you, and then they will monitor your network activity, and they will see any information they will find and exploit about it. And then yung confidentiality rin when it comes to social engineering, it's big time, no? Yan ang issue dyan, no? Social engineering, and then dumpster diving. Social engineering is like obtaining your trust, no? And kukunin ng tiwala mo, or sometimes pretending to be someone that you know or that you can trust, but actually it's not. Ang habol is to get some information from you or get your password, and there you go. Yung mga old school, mga old school days ng mga hackers is dumpster diving. Mga company, kasi, mga company records na hindi properly, lalo na yung mga hindi na-shred, may mga information doon that can be used against the company. Lalo na sa atin, even our personal informations will be confidential, will be a concern when it comes to confidentiality. So, at risk dyan ang mga companies, service providers, even us, we are at risk. So these are the things na when it comes to computer security basics, no? And then when it comes to integrity, this is about yung integrity is, are you the only one receiving the data? Are you actually sending the data in a secure network? So, and then when you need the data, is it somehow hindi na contaminated or compromised? And ang mga concern dyan is starts with man in the middle. Parang mga eavesdropper din to, but actually, merong sender and then destination, yung man in the middle, yun yung nakaharang. They pretend to be the receiver or they pretend to be the sender to intercept the information. while in transit. Yan ang man in the middle. And then another thing is yung replay. Yung replay is like it's almost the same with man in the middle, but it somehow it intercepts the data and nire-relay in the same way, but actually it's not the same information anymore, or somehow requesting again, making another request to authenticate or to grant access. Yun ang mga replay. Those are the that's an integrity concern. And then same thing with impersonation, a concern someone pretending to be, or like a authentication server or a server or a web portal. They are pretending to be that this is the same website that you are visiting, and then you will be asked for a password, or like somehow they will pretend an emergency, no, something went wrong with your data, so you need to call us, and then later on to process this, may mga bank accounts o kaya sabihin ng banko, you need to give this, you need to send this and that. Yon, impersonation yon. Those are the integrity concerns that that we need to be aware. And then availability. This is about in network, in service. Meron dyan tinatawag na denial of service. This is in a sense na when you're trying to make an access, yung server is unavailable, or the network is, you cannot make any connection. Kasi merong attack na nangyayari. And the type of attack is denial of service. Ito yung fina-flood ang when the network is flooded, or maraming yung mga queries, maraming traffic na being sent na actually intentional. It's not a regular traffic that usually propagating the network. Denial of service yan. Merong ganyang attack na nangyayari sa security, sa computer systems. And then power outage. Of course, when the power is interrupted, we have to make sure na yung system is always available, walang interruption. So may mga paraan dyan paano masolve yan, but it is a concern all the time when it comes to availability in information system. And of course, another thing is hardware failure. It is very important. And like for example, in ourselves, in the middle of work, may assignment time, may project, may deadline, and then all of a sudden, nasira ang hard drive. Or all of a sudden, nasira ang motherboard. So, lagot na. Di ba? How will be able to proceed with our work? And then if you're gonna think about that at the business level, hardware failure is not really an acceptable option, or a failure that you cannot that you will allow or tolerate. And then yung distraction, ito yung physical destruction ng data. You need to be, may mga management dyan how to, for example, yung disposal ng mga hard drives o yung mga old computers, yung from data within the hard drive to software license, lahat yan dinidispose na maayos. So that's one thing when it comes to data destruction. Meron naman yung mga physical destruction ng computer facilities. So kailangan dyan is may mga security from perimeter, and then yung parang mga backup site. Those are the things when we are talking about physical infrastructure of information system. So in service outage is also a concern. When we say service outage, ito yung mga internet service provider that we subscribe. Alam naman natin, pag nawalan tayo ng internet, kailangan natin kalagitnaan ng Korean novela na matay, mainit ang ulo, di ba? Even at the business level, I mean, it is a big loss sa company pag merong outage, pag na-interrupt, and they cannot process their business, lalo na yung mga working remotely, and then na-interrupt ang system. So, it's a big loss to the company. And the service outage we're talking about here is aside from internet service providers, even the power providers. Minsan combination yan, may outage in power outage and service outage is affected. So those are availability concerns. When it comes to security concern, meron tinatawag na AAA. Ito yung authorization, authentication and auditing. Ito yung methods when it comes to access control system. Ito yung management basis when it comes to access control system. Yung authorization, it's about validating or yung authorized user, mga legit user, and then authentication, ito yung binavalidate, and then auditing, nire-review from the word itself, yung audit your records. So, again, yung authentication, it is about who the user is. Kailangan may proof. So, it's something that about an ID, legit ID, and then from user itself. For example, let's stick to user muna. No? Let's, for example, using when logging in the computer. So, yung user, may authentication nangyayari dyan na ito ba ang valid user. So, somehow, ito yung something who you are. It usually yung user is associates the person yung meron kasing yung user login is associated with the person with the unique computer or network account. So, hindi common dapat ang, for example, ang user account for different persons or, different accounts for only one person. That's a different thing. Pero authentication issue yun. When it comes to authorization naman, it's about permission. It's about authenticated user or hindi proof na authenticated. Ito yung validated user na when they log in, may corresponding password and the server will validate your account starting from the password. And meron ding authorization na when it comes to certificates, yung mga napag-usapan natin sa previous unit, and then authorization in the sense of biometrics or something na that will only identify you. It's something that you have actually sometimes. And then yung accounting naman, of course, meron kasing halimbawa, may mga user or employee na umalis na sa company and then it is a common practice na yung mga accounts nila sa system is also being deleted or archived. So recent dapat ang mga information mo lalo sa mga users, lalo mga sa mga logins, lalo yung mga remote users, when yung nila yung time of access is also audited. Yun ang mga control of when it control of access recorded yan, and it has to be reviewed, and it has to be it has to be updated as well. Mas recent dapat siya, recently reviewed and recently checked and recently stamped. Now, when we say social engineering, what do we have in mind? Ano bang ibig sabihin ng social engineering? So, ito ba yun, yung nakipagsosyalan o yung sa social gathering or social media? Social engineering is like, yung basically, to get started with is getting people to trust you, getting people's trust and reveal their confidential information. Ba't ba nagtitiwala sa'yo? Because they know you. Ba't ba nagtitiwala sa atin ng tao? Because somehow they trust us. But in cybersecurity, this is something like they are pretending to be a trustworthy person. And that's one thing. Another one is like they are pretending to be they are part of the team or may mga good intention to actually to gain access, and then or sometimes to profile you. So yan yung mga nagpapanggap, ayan nag-spy, or sometimes yung nanghihingi ng password na pahiram saglit, meron lang gagawin, ganun ba? O kaya nalaki account ko. Friends naman tayo, so can you share that information to me and I'll use it. Gamitin ko lang account mo saglit. Parang ganun ba? Tayo pa naman mga Pilipino, no? Mapagtiwala. I hope not, no? So attackers are often built with access with piecemeal steps. Ano yung piecemeal steps? Ito yung mga enticing approach. And then any information about the company, they are aware, pretending to be part of the team. So kaya tinawag na social engineering kasi ito yung tawag ito, organized approach na with the wrong intent, with the intention of penetrating the system and exploiting the system, pretending to be that someone that we know or someone we trust. Para tinagpapanggap na friends natin. Parang ganun ba? And then, like, I mean, talking about social engineering, yan yung mga impersonation, trust, no, and dumpster diving. Yeah, yung, as I've said earlier, yung pretending to be someone else. One is to be as a friendly way in someone, and another thing is yung with intimidating. Lalo na yung may power tripping. There's someone with authority, and then pretending to be with authority, and they will come to you and force you to give the information, pretending to be someone, no? And then meron naman yung mga exploiters, sabihin nila, someone emergency, they will call you, no? Na, okay, I need your information, no? And matataranta ka naman, bibigyan mo kaagad. May mga magagaling sa ganyan eh, na madaling kumuha ng tiwala. And another one is they are very patient to build the trust. Talaga yung mga ini-infiltrate just to to be part of the team, and then or to blend in, di ba? I was thinking of that word, to blend in actually. Yan ang mga yung one way to gain access. So, and then yung dumpster diving, I mean, I mentioned earlier, ito yung mga information na namumulot na information. And sometimes it is literal. Sa mga dumpsters, saan tinatapon yung mga company junk, lalo na yung mga files na hindi properly walang proper disposal, yung mga tinatawag na shredding, sinishred yan eh. So may mga taong magagaling mag-profile when it comes to collecting information, and they could get an idea how to exploit and compromise the system. And then another security concern is yung identity fraud. And another one is also shoulder surfing. Isa natin yan. Yung identity fraud is like, I think aside from pretending to be someone, merong mask. They have a false identity that you will be convinced na to give information. No? Internal and external. Ito yung may mga control accounts na can be operated by someone else, and like yun pinahiram mo account, o kaya they were able to get an account with admin privileges, and then they can do everything. Lalo na yung ito yung mga na-exploit yung personally identifiable information, yung mga credit card information, mga bank account information, yung mga financial information when it comes to company. So, someone to pretend like that can do anything they want, lalo na yung mga with a bad intention. And of course, yung shoulder surfing, it's very literal. Ito yung, you have to be careful, di ba, when you are entering your password. Lalo na sa ATM, di ba, we're being told, and sometimes you take it for granted na we don't put our pins openly na that anyone can see. And then ito yung may ba tawag sa Tagalog ng shoulder surfing, but you know what I'm saying. I think nakasulya pala, may nakatingin. Even a person that you need to be watchful when you're entering your password, that no one is actually looking at your shoulder to observe your credentials. Now, how is social engineering is being defeated? How this kind of attack, paano ba nasa-solve ito? So one way there is to educate the staff, educate the users by training and education, and this is a good way. And even in my experience, may mga training dyan when it comes to in social engineering, or lalo na when it comes to cybersecurity, not only as technical person but also as users, even as facilitators. Ang training education is at all levels, from user to organization to company and to what it says environmental then. So yan ang number one to defeat social engineering. Turuan sila, kailangan maging aware, kailangan need to be informed no? And then may mga policies when it comes to cybersecurity or when it comes to security. Yan bawa mga proper usage ng system, proper deployment ng mga devices. May mga policy dyan when it comes to premises, when it comes to uploading files or sharing files or browsing the internet. May mga policy dyan. Or like computer usage na you don't leave your screen open. Sa panahon ngayon, you don't do that. It's not that you don't trust your colleagues, but it's a practice, no? Lalo na even a long break or lunchtime, even your short break, it is in-emphasize sa training na you lock your screen, no? And then when it comes to visitors or identity sa company, importanteng may mga badges. Etong badges mismo, sometimes yun na rin ang ginagamit sa security doors to come in and come out. And then yung mga visitors, they are always escorted. And may mga training then how to make them comfortable and aware na to be escorted while in the premises. It's a common practice, especially in the information age where information can be easily stolen na, no? Now, when it comes to security, meron din tinatawag na business continuity and fault tolerance. Wait, what do we mean by business continuity and fault tolerance? Business continuity is actually, from the word itself, you can tell, no, it's non-interruption of the business during disaster. Pag may mga outage, yung interruption is malaki ang cost financially sa company. And then reputational damage, halimbawa, even sa bangko, di ba? Pag hindi ATM is always offline o kaya Meralco palaging brown out, those are reputational damage. So that's the significance of business continuity. And then may mga strategy diyan to minimize ang prolonged outages or to minimize the effect at a larger scale. So may mga stages of restoration, may mga stages of impact. So those are being planned lalo na sa business level. And then when we say fault tolerance, ito yung how the company would stand during disaster. So, ang ginagawa dyan is, in design dapat is, ina-identify dyan yung mga single point of failure. When we say single point of failure na, for example, I think pag nagkaroon ng problema, down na lahat. So, yun. Isa lang ang access nyo, isa lang ang link nyo. So, single point of failure yon. Yun ang ina-identify at yun ang iniiwasan. And then gumagawa rin ng contingency plan na regardless of redundancy o regardless of dual points of failure, no, na-avoid yung single points of failure, may contingency like backup plans or how do you respond with failures. May mga tinatawag na response team, may mga tinatawag na disaster recovery team o kaya mga on-call na during outage may mga first response team na sila yung unang tatawagan even on likely hours. It just reminds me of my early days working, no, lalo na sa airport, on call ka, no, kailangan madali kang magising. Wala pag nangyari in the middle of the night. And then when it comes to system components, may mga redundancy dyan. Kailangan may provided redundancy na during failover, you can replace, you can switch to backups or to spares, yung mga easy replacement. It's a good practice and it's always been there, but just to let you know, no, minsan it's taken for granted. Minsan is or nagiging complacent or reluctant when it comes to redundancy or spare components. So when it comes to business continuity, these are the concerns, these are the things that has to be considered. Now, security when it comes to data, not only when it comes to yung being compromised, no, when it comes to confidentiality, integrity, and then availability. It also it also revolves to redundancy. Ito yung mga backup o kaya yung mga dual copies, no? So when it comes to hard drive, sa hardware, merong system na tinatawag na RAID o Redundant Array of Independent Disk. Kasi ang server mo, lalo ng server, pag isa lang hard drive mo, pag nasira, tapos ang business. So, pag meron kasi mga server na multiple hard drive. So, they are configured with redundancy, and that type of redundancy, when it comes to multiple disks in your RAID. RAID dyan, may mga RAID versions yan. May RAID 1 and RAID 5. So, ang configuration ng RAID system to tolerate failure, yung may starting from RAID 1, disk mirroring. When we say disk mirroring, it requires at least actually dalawang drive. So, isang drive ang active, lahat ng nangyayari dito, kinakopy automatic sa pangalawang drive, sa second drive. So, naka-mirror everything that's being created, anything that is going on, it is mirrored to the other drive. So, it is only required for 2 drives. And then, meron ding RAID configuration, RAID 5. Ito yung stripping with parity. Yung stripping with parity, ibig sabihin yung data, when it's been written, it's not only written on single drive. Naka-write yung ibang components ng data sa drive 2. And then the rest of the data sa drive 3. So, yun ang tawag ng stripping. Distributed ang saving ng data. When we say parity naman, ayun yung for error checking, to validate na yung stripping belongs to the same location, to the same drive. If some of you are familiar with that, yung mga tinatawag na parity checking, ito yung mga for error correction. And meron pang mga RAID na RAID 10, di ba? And RAID 6, those are mga advanced storage system tolerance configuration. And then, ang RAID kasi, when we say meron ng redundancy in drive mo, ibig sabihin hindi na kailangan ng backup. That is different. Backup is a duplicate copy of data. RAID is multiple operations of these drives. Na in the event of hard drive failure, hindi na-interrupt ang hard drive. Ang computer generally. Di ba pag nasira ang hard drive, patay din ang computer. So, sa computer with multiple drives, yung RAID is hard drive redundancy. But that not necessarily mean may backup ka na. That's another story. When it comes to security rin sa information system, meron din tinatawag na network redundancy. When we say network redundancy, ito yung mga multiple links, multiple connections. So usually, when it comes to switches, naka-mesh, no? Hindi lang siya naka-connect sa isa, pero naka-connect din sa neighboring switch. Either dual connect, triple connect, o kaya apat na connection. And ganun din sa mga ibang switches from leaf layer or distribution layer to access layer. So nakamesh yan na pag nawala yung link dito, meron pa ring way meron pa another link na available na walang interruption sa computer in terms of network outage. And actually, sometimes meron ding may mga cases na yung dual connected ang workstations. It is rarely in the IT environment, pero sa mga industrial environment, lalo na yung tinatawag nilang OT, Operational Technology, yung mga devices dyan are dual connected. So redundancy starts from end devices to network devices. And then meron din tinatawag na load balancing. Load balancing in a sense na pag dalawa ang active na link, no, distributed ang data transmission. Hindi congested ito, hindi lahat pinadadala rito, meron ding information na dumatakbo rito sa kabilang link. So, as I've said, in network redundancy, in mga multiple network paths between nodes, starting from end devices to network devices. And then at layer 3 naman, pag merong failed links, no, merong ibang hubs, router hubs that they could choose as an alternative path. Yeah, yun yung, ano eh, yun yung sa layer 3 na usually sa mga routers, hindi lang isang router nakikita niyan, maraming routers na nag-update ang routing table, and at the time of link failure, na yung algorithm nila o yung program within the routers will determine the best path, the next best alternative paths at the time of link failures. Now, redundancy naman when it comes to power is also a security concern. As mentioned earlier, pag may mga power outage, di ba? It interrupts the business. So, ang power redundancy starts from power supplies na dual power, and then hot swappable ba na pag nasira yung yung power supply, napapalitan din agad. And they don't and then yung computer or server remains operational kahit masira yung isang power supply. Kaya makita mo rito dalawa yung power connection, no? Kung ito ay isang unit din. No, this one for example, no, meron pang isang power supply dito na available that you can use. And then aside from the dual power supply, meron mga UPS which stands for uninterruptible power supply, and then papunta sa Meralco, sa main utility, and the other one, the next supply aside from UPS, merong generator na pag during time of failure, yung UPS temporarily will provide power to the computer, and then pag prolong ang power, ang generator tatakbo and will take over the supply of power. So, again, sa hardware may dual power supplies, and then redundant power circuits. Like for example, kung meron pang Meralco 1, may Meralco 2 o ibang provider, that's what it meant. And then gumagamit ng UPS, iba yung may generator lang. UPS na pag nag-blackout, hindi pa tumatakbo ang generator, may power pa rin because of the UPS. And then, backup yung power generator. Pag lalo na matagal ang recovery ng power, ito na patatakbuhin kasi ang UPS madidrain din yan. It's not forever, no? It's only good for for interruption, but not for main power supply or main utility supply. And then another security concern when it comes to site or data centers or production company, merong duplicate, no? Ito yung actively in use, ito yung actively operational, and then merong disaster recovery site na bawat equipment from production site are replicated, merong katapat yan, and then may mga equivalent, pati including the servers, databases, and then the hardware unit itself. So once something goes wrong, general disaster, ito talagang non-operational, this DR site will take over. It could be a neighboring city or a different geography. What's important is that madali ang take over. Meron tinatawag na hot standby, no? And then meron cold standby. And then meron tawag na passive, no? Yung hot standby is that yung sinabi ko nina, automatic takeover. Yung cold naman is that may mga configuration update pa, may mga equipment pa na you need to transfer. So ang neto replication is updated and synchronized. That's a procedure na they always make sure na everything going on, all the data, all the equipment are synchronized or and replicated to the backup site. So when it comes to pag merong disaster, no, may recovery procedure. Merong plano dapat kung paano i-restore ang 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 system during disaster. So may mga plano diyan, no, for business continuity. So during at the time of incident, no, may workflows and resources, may mga identified people, may mga tools, may mga spares provided at different level of disaster. from major to minor scenarios. Lahat yung sinisimulate. May mga tinatawag na incident level, no? May mga outage level. And then may mga priority rin during disaster. Ano ba unang dapat i-restore? Ano bang sino ang dapat na unang tatawagin? May escalation din. And then may mga on call. So and then yung service from residential to commercial to company to business level, may mga levels of priority. Those everything comes with depende sa agreement and sa service contract. So when it comes to disaster recovery then, yung data restoration, kasama palagi yan, na yung backup mo is updated, tested, reliable, no? And then up to date. May procedure dyan na at the time of incident, at any point of time, yung restoration is reliable. And then yung restoring access, di ba? Meron dyan yung mga on-site, off-site, yung mga dual backups o yung mga spare backups, yung mga yung mga tawag dito, other storage media. So yung restoring access, sino dapat ang authorized, sino mga identified users that will be granted access again. Those are the things are planned and written down. And then ine-exercise, may mga disaster recovery drill pa yan, may mga drill pa yan, exercises. Hindi lang fire drill, meron ding disaster recovery drill na tinatawag sa information system. So in this unit, we covered the different threats in security in information system, and CIA triad. We covered that, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We discussed this when it comes to security, when it comes to security concerns on information processing systems. And then we identify different social engineering risks and the techniques to control and then counter the social engineering attacks. And then we covered a lot, di ba, sa business continuity, yung significance ng disaster recovery, and some points that we covered about making the system fault tolerant. And we said that when we say fault tolerant, that at the time of incident, hindi single point of failure, hindi total shutdown. May mga redundancy, may mga backup, may mga as much as possible uninterrupted. Continuous ang operation, ibig sabihin. And then we also covered the importance of disaster recovery, ang impact ng sa business and the procedure, and then the preparation kailangan when it comes to security. These are physical security when it comes to information system. I hope this has been informative to you. See you in the next unit.